Welcome to Pastor Aggressive Podcast. Real life, real faith, real talk.
Do you know the word gay used to mean weird? Like C.S. Lewis in his writings would say gay and...
No, he would say weird. Queer for weird, and he would say gay for jolly, because that's what they meant.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We were having a sidebar conversation before this, but we're here now.
Yeah, more like a sandbar conversation. It was really a mess. It was.
What does that mean?
We were like a couple of beached whales. Is what
we
I'm
were
saying.
like Paul on that shipwreck, but we were the ship.
Yeah.
It's like David and Goliath, but we're the people that don't want to fight Goliath.
Yeah, that's right. So we're podcasting super late tonight.
It's almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah, and we have no idea where we're going. We're just riffing.
We just got back from what's his shop called?
Guardian Angel
in Martinsville. Good tattooer with our boy Isaac.
Yeah.
We sat and talked around for... Warner was there for like 5 hours.
I was there for a long time.
Tell him the story from your perspective.
So the story from my perspective is Tiffany was going to Martinsville anyway to do something with her family, and I was looking for something to do, and you were like, come hang out with me while I get this tattoo, and I was like, okay, yeah, I could do that. And you were like, it's at 6 o'clock, and I was like, sure. She was going to be there at like 5:30. I was like, I can kill a half hour, go to the gas station, get something to drink, whatever.
Yeah.
We get there a little bit early, 5:20, but then your appointment got bumped to 7 o'clock.
I got to confess something to you. Speaking of what we were talking about with Isaac, it was actually scheduled for 7 o'clock, and I didn't know.
Bro.
I know. That's so bad. But to be fair, I texted you at like 4:30.
I know, and I just didn't pay attention to it.
And also, I didn't... Okay, finish, and then I'll get back to that.
So I'm sitting around from like 5:20 to 7:05-ish. Now, you ended up getting to the... Oh, he just disappeared. You ended up getting to the place about 6:30-ish, probably. So we sat around for a little bit, listened to some slam poetry.
Yeah, I was flying trying to get to you, too. I felt so bad. So this is what Warner texts me. He says, first of all, he made me feel really guilty. So I text him, and he's like, early. We got here early. I'm like, I can pick whatever. And he's like, I'm just hanging out at the venue right now. And this venue is like this big open outdoor
yeah.
So he's just like out there all alone. And then
amphitheater.
Then he texts me, he says, Isaac isn't even here, and there's a poetry thing going on. Did you guys punk me?
Yeah.
And then I didn't even see your text when I said we got you caught up in a slam poetry session. You said, I'm hungry too, so they are going to get my hangry slams.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, if I was slamming them with poetry, they would be like really aggressive because I was hungry. So I was low-key hoping that you were just going to pick me up some Taco Bell on the way, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that would have been real, dude.
That would have been wild.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am sorry for that, bro.
That's okay. That's okay.
I was working late. Well, I was working, and I was getting ready to leave at 5, and Isaac pushed it back, so I worked a little late. But
you said he didn't push it back. You said that
I just lied again. No, you're right. Yeah, I'm softening the blow.
Yeah, you just misunderstood.
Well, so it wasn't even a misunderstanding. I'm not very good with the calendar thing yet.
Yeah.
So I set a reminder for Friday, but I thought it was actually for tomorrow.
Right,
So I
remember
him
that.
today, and he's like, "No, he said it's for today. He didn't tell me what time."
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there around 6." He's like, "Oh, it's 7." So to be fair, I thought it was 6.
Yeah.
And it was 7. No joke.
6, 7, I get it. You're really bad with calendars, and I thought I was bad with calendars.
I know.
Yeah, but
because I'm on that Gregorian.
You're exceptionally bad. Yeah, you're like those people that predict the end times all the time, and then they're like, I was looking at the wrong calendar, my bad.
Bro, we talk about this a lot, and I was kind of thinking through why I'm like this, but I think I know why it is. We talk about this a lot where we like have like events or things we want people to come to and they don't show up. And you get real demoralized about that.
Sure.
That was my whole childhood. So like now I don't put too many eggs in one basket.
Right. So now you're the one that stands people up. You're the dad that went out for milk.
Yeah. That's a good point. Wow. I thought I was about to cook. I'm lost for words.
No, you just got cooked, brother.
Yeah. I'm a terrible person. Maybe I should start going to that one church. I'm not gonna say her name, or his name, or their name.
Yeah.
Shit.
Anyway.
Yeah, man, we had a good time. I think we had a good time this evening. We talked about a ton.
We did. It was a lot.
Yeah. So what I kind of want to talk about first probably is bearing one another's burdens, because Isaac had an interesting thought on this, and maybe we shouldn't put his thoughts out there without him being here.
Yeah, because I don't think he was saying not to bear each other's burdens, but he was more saying like, I got to worry about my own salvation and my own
which there's
faith,
some heathens to that.
Yeah. But I was making the point when I talked to you that. I think that there's an argument to be made. I'm not wearing my glasses. I'm like, why is everything so blurry? Anyway, because I was going to bed and you said, let's podcast. So yeah, I would say that there's there's some level of we are to make disciples, or to go out into all the world and make disciples. But then the flip side of that was that maybe just the apostles' charge?
So I've kind of flipped the script on this a little bit too. If Jesus is specifically talking to the apostles, that means we have this whole gifts thing wrong. Right. That means there is something to like it happens, but it happens less.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I think where he's coming from is a good place. He is super wise, dude, and has like every time I talk to him, he makes me feel like I've been doing it wrong. And this is where I feel like I've been doing it wrong. We talk a lot about not being able to judge somebody's salvation.
Right.
But I still do that. Right. Mm-hmm. So I was doing that with him, and I think where he's coming from on that, where he's like, I only worry about like seeing myself to heaven. Yeah. Is like if you get too caught up in trying to save other people, not only do you lose yourself, but most of the time you lose them. So like your dad was somebody he was just open for me to come to him. Yeah. My pastor Tim was somebody who was open for me to come to him. Isaac gave a great example of like when somebody's in his shop talking about crazy stuff, he doesn't like shoot them down. He just like he gives them he sends them to who will help him. Yeah. Help them.
Yeah.
We are not the ones, but are we?
Well, so there's this interesting thing that I recognized when I flew with my kids that I had not recognized before. When you get on a plane, they'll go through all the safety things, and I've flown so much that I just kind of zone it out. I already start my audio book or my Christian metal before they even start giving the demonstration. However, this time it clicked with me because I was sitting next to one of my kids pretty much every flight. The part where they say, if the oxygen masks are released and you are sitting next to someone who cannot help themselves, like a child, put your mask on first and then help the person that needs help. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this, how that's like the idea of like the plank and the speck.
Or even like the idiom thing we were talking about earlier, like help yourself before you help others.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with this is, when are you helped enough to start helping others?
Yes, that is.
When have you had that mask on enough to start helping others?
Right, and I think that's the part that is so hard to determine or discern in like the Christian walk.
The Christian walk would say that we are never...
But wouldn't you think that modern American Christianity would say, all right, you got to church, you got saved, you got baptized, now you're good, go do it.
Go start making disciples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And push you into the deep end.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like missions, like for me, for example, I don't know if you have to be tied to a denomination. Does it scare you that I have wild beliefs, like when I'm at like Bible studies and recoveries and stuff like that?
No.
It doesn't worry you?
No.
I feel like I worry about that with myself, because a year and a half ago I would have told somebody that I don't worship Mary, and then now I worship Mary. I'm just kidding. And then new tat, check it out, chat. W's in the chat. Anyways, so like, who am I? It's kind of like why Isaac like says he's kind of nervous about coming on the pod, is like, who am I to speak for something that's been a long lasting tradition, or like something that supersedes our understanding? Who am I to explain that to somebody? But also, like, no, like I am. Let me think through this.
When I almost sounded like Stephen Furtick there for a second.
What does he say?
I am God Almighty.
No, when I'm at work. So today's an example. This kid comes in and he comes to pay his rent. And I've talked to him about God before, and he was telling me about this Christian church in Columbus called CCC. And he was talking about how you can't get to church and this and that. And it was an opportunity for me to be like, look, man, if you want to go to church, I'll come down and we can go to a church together. And he accepted that.
Okay.
So in that, I think it was my role to like sacrifice, you know, like a Sunday of mine of convenience to like, how would you say, supply this guy with the means of what he's looking for. Yeah. But it's not me who's going to give him what he's looking for.
Sure.
It's me who's going to guide him to what he's looking for, but maybe not that either. Maybe God's, well, I mean, we would agree, I am befuddled right now. We would agree that it is God doing the work.
Yes.
Maybe that's what Isaac's saying. Is it?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. He's not here, so I don't know for sure.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think that's what he was saying.
It was an interesting thought. It's shocking to hear, I think, coming from our culture of Christianity, hearing that. Because we hear that as like a selfish Christian, and that's definitely not Isaac.
Well, I think
I hear that. Like
when you're talking about like when is it our time to help somebody? There's this, and one thing Isaac did say that I thought was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He's like, I don't ever want to feel like I'm like pious or self-righteous to where like someone thinks that because I think this thing, then that puts me on. And that's why he was saying he wouldn't want to come on here and like speak for the church because he's like, I don't want people to think like I'm self-righteous or pious or like I have it all figured out or whatever. But
he mentioned that with confession too,
right?
Which was super refreshing. Different topic. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but when we're talking about helping people, it's this idea of like, where is it helping and where is it being judgmental, and it's hard to determine the difference there. And we
have to judge to help,
right? Because we talked about this in the recovery group this week. We were talking about Mary and Martha, and I mentioned this to Tiffany this week too, because it like really resonated with me. That it clicked with me for the first time ever on Sunday when Wade was going through that. When he's going through that story, this was not even his point, but it's something the Holy Spirit revealed to me that I was like, how did I never see this before? Mary is sitting there listening to Jesus, and Martha is working and cleaning up the house and doing whatever.
Busybody.
But also probably listening to Jesus.
Yeah.
But she's working.
In the background, like your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't think that the way that Mary is not helping is good. And so she corrects. She says, Lord, are you going to just let her sit there while I'm doing all this other stuff? And that is the problem. That is the sin that she has. It's not that she's busy or that she's working. It's that she's comparing what Mary's doing to what she's doing.
And they were doing two different things, which were both service.
Yes.
And we're both technically doing a good thing in essence.
And the reason I think it's okay, I don't think that it was her sin that she was being busy, and I think that it's possible that she was listening to Jesus while also working, is because if she wasn't, I feel like Jesus would have corrected her before that moment.
Sure.
He would have said, Martha, look at your sister is sitting and listening. This is the way to do it. He doesn't say that. She comes and corrects Mary just sitting there, and then Jesus says, is it not better for her to just sit and listen? And so he's not saying that what she was doing was wrong, but at this point he's like, okay, well, if we really want to compare now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what
but he doesn't initially say, Martha, stop working and come listen to me.
Yeah. This is what he was saying when I was talking about, we'll talk about it. Let me know if I should stop. Gay people in the church.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me flesh this out all the way so I don't step on my own feet. I think you can be gay and be a Christian. I think you can have homosexual attraction and be a Christian. I don't think you could be living in that. Well, I think you can be a Christian. This is
where this is where we were getting into the reeds of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Is who are we to say who is or isn't a Christian or who does have a relationship with Jesus? Now, the fruit of that would seem to us, but then the point where he kind of came to was like, yeah, but that's because that our experience is like, that's not the thing we struggle with.
Well, I'm the Martha in this. So like what he said is like, what if this gay person is doing more righteous deeds than you? What if this gay person is giving alms more or praying for people more or serving people more than you are? It's like, am I going to be Martha and Jesus is going to say to me like, you're like judging. Well, I don't know.
That's a weird. That's a hard comparison.
Yeah,
to make.
because
But again, the comparison thing is the problem. But
yeah.
But I think the point you're trying to make is we don't get to, and we've said this so many times on the podcast before. We even had a whole episode about it. But we're
reminding ourselves.
We don't get to determine who is or isn't saved, or who is or isn't in the faith, or who is or isn't having a relationship with Jesus, because we just don't know. We don't know their heart.
Yeah.
Goes back to what we said last week. God looks at the heart. We look at the surface.
Sure.
And so we don't know. We can speculate.
Yeah.
But then again, it goes back to,
should we speculate?
Should we be worried about figuring out their stuff while we don't even have our stuff figured out?
And I think that's the essence of what he was saying, was like, he's told me many times, like, focus on your own salvation. And I've gotten into this with my friends, especially my old Bible study I did on Monday nights, where I would debate, and I could tell they were starting to get frustrated with me. And I told them eventually, I was like, I hope you guys know, like, if you feel like I'm being judgmental or whatever, I judge myself by these same metrics that I'm judging you guys by. And now I may be realizing that me judging them by those metrics is wrong, and also me judging myself by those metrics is wrong. Because what did Isaac say about mercy? Do you remember what he said about mercy?
He said that we sometimes underestimate God's mercy.
Yeah. And how could we? How could I only be 2 years into the faith and forget about what he did for me personally?
Yeah.
And not only for what he did for the whole entire world.
Yeah.
And I really believed that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I still believe that, but I believe in it in a less intense way, to now where I feel like I can play Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're not all meant to be Jesus. We're not all meant to be Moses.
Yeah.
We're not all meant to be Paul. And we definitely don't have the gifts of the Spirit anymore. Those have ceased.
You're ridiculous. I saw a video today of a cessationalist or cessationist or cessationist.
There's two. There's sensationalist and there's cessationalist.
Cessationist, who thinks that the gifts have ceased, but their argument was that they don't actually think that they've ceased, but that they're more limited.
I think that's.
And I would not consider myself a cessationist, but I would say that same thing. This is what we talked about this with the denominations of like Isaac and I were saying some of the same things tonight, and I'm like, I'm saying I believe that same thing as you.
Like the means of grace.
I'm
thing.
saying it differently than you,
yeah.
And it's like I think we get so caught in all of that sometimes, where we're like, we're not hearing the other person because we're so eager to get our thing out. But it's like, if you actually listen to what they're saying, we're saying the same thing. We're calling it something different. And
it's kind of a difference between like high church and low church. Like,
yeah.
Isaac throws out a bunch of terms that, like, when we hear that, we think, ooh, churchy religious, Theotokos or Eucharist and this and that. It's like, no, I actually admire the value that he puts on what we would call the Lord's Supper or communion.
So one of the things when we talk about communion or the Eucharist, or one of the things that I really struggle with, and I've talked to you about this, like how I pray, like, if I'm wrong about this, I won't be made right. But I think sometimes my interpretation of that is not different than what some of our friends who believe in, like, the real presence of Christ, transubstantiation of the Eucharist, because I would say, like, yes, Christ is uniquely present in this moment. There is something, like, there's an active grace in this taking of this, breaking of this bread and drinking of this cup. My thing that I would always say, like, well, what do you, like, when I take of this bread, I don't think it tastes like human flesh. And when I drink of the cup, I don't think it tastes like bread or it tastes like blood. I think it tastes like whatever bread we have. Sometimes it's way too sweet.
Yeah.
And whatever grape juice we have on hand.
Yeah.
But I don't devalue you or undermine the presence of Christ in that.
Right.
But I would say, like, I've just never tasted that, so I can't believe that. And is that
really what it hinges on for you?
But
though,
then that's a very oversimplification. Sure. But they would make the argument that, like, no, in this it changes, but it tastes like bread.
Well, that's a Catholic. Isn't that a Catholic argument you heard or something like that? You read or something?
I don't remember, but essentially that the taste it maintains the taste of bread and the texture of bread and the taste of wine or juice. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm saying the same thing as you. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like I'm not. I would agree with that. I would agree with you in that. And we talked about this when we're talking about the Justin the Martyr and his apologies. He's writing to this,
which is not sorry.
Right. I'm sorry. No, he's writing to this Roman emperor.
He's sharing his burdens, explaining
the faith. And the Roman emperor is like, Christians are cannibals, and he's like, no, let me explain. And he lays it all out. And this is like an Orthodox belief or tradition is based on tradition. What Justin Martyr writes in this apology.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, I agree with this, what he's saying in this. So that is like, it's one of those things of like semantics and wording. I think that sometimes we create these denominational things where it's like, I think we're all, not all, I don't want to sound like a Unitarian Universalist here. I think we really are saying the same things and the heart intent is there, but how we're saying it, we're saying it in a different dialect.
It's also, though, how we practice it is very different. But interestingly enough, my retort to you was going to be, so you think the early church fathers are wrong? And as you were speaking, I was realizing it's maybe not such a right or wrong thing, like what you're saying. I don't think you're saying, in fact, you just said that this early church father, Justin Martyr, was he a church father?
I don't know.
Somebody,
I wouldn't know.
Some like C.S. Lewis of the old times. You agree with him. You agree with what he's saying, but it doesn't play out like in tradition the same way in our church.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
it's not a right or wrong
Another thing from Justin Martyr's writings was about the order of the service. And he talks about reading of the Gospels or the prophets or the letters, right?
He says that?
Or the epistles. And then he says, and then the priest comes up and expounds upon or gives direction or guidance. And it's like, yeah, that's to me like when I'm preaching, it's just I also am doing the reading. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not a separate thing for me. That is all at once.
Have you ever listened to a John Mark Comer sermon? No. Is it John Mark Comer that does that? I can't remember, but it's some church I listen to. They will have somebody. It's Timothy Keller, I think. They'll have somebody else read the scripture, and then he'll preach on the scripture.
So that is a thing that some people do. Some churches, and I don't know what church traditions do that typically, but
he was Presbyterian, but I don't know if that's a Presbyterian thing.
But I was talking to the new youth director at church last week, or whenever this podcast comes out, whatever, time travel.
2 weeks ago.
And she was talking about Youth Sunday and what that looks like and what we've done in the past, what she'd like to do, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I am happy to have the kids be involved in as much as they want, even as far as I don't necessarily think one of the kids, especially maybe a high school kid who's learning or wanting to do that, but I don't think one of the kids would necessarily be a good choice to like have them preach the sermon. But yeah. I said I would go as far as they could do the reading, and we could do it like that style, where they could read the text and I'll preach it.
You should try that.
And I'm like, I'm fine. I think that would be a cool thing, and it would give a kid an opportunity to do that.
The problem is when your church asks, where are you getting this from? And you say Justin Martyr, they're going to start tearing off their robes. Or not their robes, but their flannels and jeans.
Their skinny jeans and flannels. And,
their Supreme beanies.
I would say they'd put on sackcloth and ashes, but this day it's just vape juice.
Yo, that is so blasphemous, dude. Yeah. We also talked about fasting. I really loved. I've heard of the 3 alms. It kind of reminded me of the Pillars of Islam a little bit. The 5 Pillars of Islam.
Oh, when he's talking about giving of alms, yeah. I mean, that's where they get it, I think. But
we were talking about fasting and what is fasting, and it's been so hard for me to find an answer on that forever. And the way he put it was simple. It's kind of like what we were talking about on the way back. It was simple and like like if you practice fasting that way, there would be nothing wrong with it.
Essentially, you're giving to the extent that.
Well, what are the 3 alms?
Well, that you're giving to the extent that you're giving up. So like, you are fasting and praying, and then giving in reflection of how you're fasting. So like, say this is not a 1-to-1, but if you were to like make a simple comparison, it's I'm fasting. I would have spent $15 at Taco Bell today. I'm fasting, so I'm not spending that $15. So I'm now then giving $15 to someone who needs it.
The church, somebody who needs it.
The church, someone who's hungry, whatever. And so that's the idea, is like, in my sacrifice, it's not just sacrifice to sacrifice, like woe is me. It's in my sacrifice, I'm then giving out of that sacrifice.
Which is Christ.
Right, yeah.
Which is literally Christ.
Yeah. But then there's also the prayer part of that, because as we've both experienced, when we're fasting, there's like it's like you're more aware.
For sure.
In your prayer. Like it's more, I don't know, it feels more tangible.
And your hunger provokes you to pray.
Yeah.
So that's what Isaac was saying. He was like, it's easy to pray when you're fasting. And I've always thought about that because Jesus in Luke, it's in Luke, right, where he's like, some demons can only be cast out with fasting and prayer.
Yeah, I think it's maybe Mark.
I'm pretty sure it's Luke because it's when they get beat up and ran out.
Yeah.
And I always thought about it that way, but I listened to that Tim Keller sermon, and I had that experience with giving while I was fasting, and something about it just felt so right. So it was cool to hear like somebody just make it so simple. And that's also another thing we were talking about on the way home. We are like hitting a million topics.
Yeah.
And this might be my fault, but we were talking about how sometimes we can be unhelpful, and I remember what I said, of course. I never remember what you said. We can be unhelpful in like over explaining things and over analyzing things, and like to hear somebody say, fast, when you fast, give alms, pray, and fast from whatever you're fasting for.
Yeah.
Period. Easy.
Yeah. That seems simple, right?
It seems simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he made a good point. It's kind of hard culturally now to like, I mean, it depends where you're at, I guess.
Well, then he said even like maybe lighten up on that. So like when we were talking about like you're fasting from dairy, and then you're looking at the label of whatever you've got, and you're like, oh, does this have some kind of milk byproduct in it? It's like, you don't need to go that far. Maybe, I don't know.
He was talking about it's so weird to hear like traditional Orthodox guys say it's about the spirit of the fast.
Right.
You totally would never think you would hear that from like these like religious, what we call
high
religious
church,
people. Yeah.
So I think this is a pretty good lead into what could be essentially the topic. We've talked about a lot of little things
Topics
this week today, but let's narrow in on a more tangible topic. The topic of reverence for a pastor or a priest.
Mm-hmm. Reverence versus relatability.
We've been talking about this a lot.
For a month almost.
Off mic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Off the record. For the record.
For the record. Let's just get real vulnerable with it.
Yeah.
Let's get real vulnerable. I'll hit it from my perspective first, where this stemmed from. So I moved in with Warner. I see a lot of what Warner does. Warner sees a lot of what I do. And I was having this problem looking at him reverentially. And that's partially my fault, because I seem to make an idol out of people I deem my mentors. And I just kind of had this conversation with him where I was like, I feel like I should have reverence. It's hard for you to be my friend and my pastor, and I feel like I want to revere my pastor. And I really had to think that through, and I think it was conflicting for you because of what you believe about maybe being relatable. Mm-hmm. So what do you believe about that?
So I think there's a fine line in relatability. You know, this week, or last week, whatever, I was preaching, and Tiffany will sometimes give me a look from where she's seated. Yeah. So I've learned to just not look at her while I'm preaching. It's fine. Because sometimes I can get very vulnerable and use very personal examples in my preaching of things that I'm dealing with, or things that we're going through, or things that we're experiencing. The exact example, now probably people that listen to the podcast also have heard the sermon or whatever, but the example was about that we've been battling fleas for a couple weeks here at the homestead. And like Tiffany was like, why would you share that information? Some people get weirded out by that or grossed out by that or whatever. I'm like, I didn't see it that way. I didn't think that was important. But the point is, I think there is a line. I just don't know where that line is, like what you do and don't talk about. And we've talked about, and I don't know if we've mentioned this on the podcast, but there was a pastor who preached from the pulpit and specifically gave the day and time that his wife and he are intimate from the pulpit. That's too much. I don't think that's necessary.
Why is that too much?
Well, okay, so
I'll be honest, I didn't have as much of a problem with it as you do, I think.
Okay.
I think it's maybe, it's definitely not reverential, but the culture of that church is probably not that. It's probably like friends with my pastor, like real, like, it's like, can we hold them to a standard that they don't hold themselves to? I don't think so. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast. Now, granted, you're right. That's a different environment. It's okay for us probably to talk about that on the podcast, even though you're a pastor. And probably not from the pulpit.
Well, obviously, there are things like, even though I do sometimes censor you on the podcast, there are obviously things I feel more comfortable talking about on the podcast that I would never talk about from the pulpit.
Yeah.
And I think that is okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think my problem with it is a guy like him, I could never. What I understand about Christianity is in it being a lifestyle, is what we were talking about, is a lifestyle of sacrifice, a lifestyle of humility, a lifestyle of servitude. And when a guy talks like that from the pulpit, when a guy who's supposed to be leading a flock of, in this case, thousands of people?
Yeah, probably.
You can't not be serious in front of thousands of Christians. And I get serious. Like, you make jokes. It softens people up. It opens people up.
Sometimes
but your
they
joke,
bomb.
Yeah, your joke, and that's honestly part of your personality.
Yeah,
that's part of what that warms people up. I'm not saying to have no personality. It's not a problem that this guy has personality. It's a problem that he's wearing $1,000 outfits, and that what he's displaying shows no servitude, but to anybody but himself. His life is seems to be structured around himself. And when I think of a priest, this is what I kind of like about Catholics not being. Not all Catholics, but like priests not being married, is like you're devoting as a pastor, you are, when you take that role, in my opinion, devoting your life to the church.
Yeah.
You're not devoting your life to what you want, what makes you comfortable,
right.
Making a lot of money, having a nice house. These things are not appealing to me if you're a priest. Right. Now, if you have money and you're a pastor, that's not an automatic no. It depends why you have money or what you're doing with that money, which may be none of my business. But like, I don't want to know the intricate details of my pastor's not so reverential life.
Yeah.
It's okay that I only know. It's okay that I know you're flawed, but you live a holy life.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way to put it. I think that's a really good way to put it.
I know personally how I've grown in looking at you is I know now that you're flawed like I'm flawed, but you're not flawed like I'm flawed. You have like an insurmountable amount of obstacles in your life. What I would deem obstacles, what you would deem maybe a blessing, such as children and a wife and a house and animals and all this stuff you take care of, while also taking care of the church. You sacrifice. We talked about it before we went in for the tattoo. Bro, you like sacrifice your like fun or your hangout time or what you want to do for serving the church. Literally what you're stressed out about is you want to make sure your kids have a good time on Sunday, and you also want to make sure you make it to the recovery meeting.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, bro? Like that's who I want my pastor to be. I want my pastor to be so concerned about the church that he's maybe a little stressed out about it.
Yeah.
I want to know that you care, not that you can stay home today and live stream the service from your house.
Right.
With no pants on. Especially at Friday, Friday at 11.
There's some things about the way that people dress too. Like we were talking earlier about this Instagram account called I think it's Preachers and Sneakers or something like that,
which is a funny name.
And
dude.
it's like all these like big mega celebrity pastors with like their expensive shoes on, and like it was funny because like this last Sunday I was wearing like Air Force Ones.
Yeah,
it was like
granted,
but you
didn't buy
those.
them. You didn't buy them.
You gifted those.
And the Supreme hat, guys.
Yeah.
Warner doesn't know what Supreme is.
Yeah.
So if he pops out with that Supreme hat, do not judge him.
Yeah, don't judge me. But I do have a Supreme hat now. But but like I don't set out to dress cool to preach. I just kind of dress how I would, but just like a little nicer. You know what I mean?
I've
like,
noticed you dress like you like your outfit.
Yeah.
Which is like how it should be.
Yeah. But that's how I dress in the normal day-to-day too. It's just normally it's a t-shirt and jeans rather than like...
And you throw a jacket on.
Yeah.
You don't wear a hat. You're not like...
Yeah. So, but that is to say like that idea of like trying to look too cool, I think is a problem. But I think also the idea of like these guys, and I talked about this a little bit last week, but these guys that will wear like the most fancy, expensive suit because I have to stand out above.
Well,
it's like
the same thing.
Also, is the same thing, just a different culture.
Now think of a priest. Then, have you ever been to a high church like?
I've been to a Catholic funeral and, in Episcopal church maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that'd be the closest.
So what Isaac was saying was real. He wasn't just like showboating this about his priest. Is like his priest during most of the most of the service or whatever they would call it, mass. I don't think they call it mass. He has his back turned to the church. You don't see his face. You don't hear him talk like out of his own exposition until the end of the service.
Yeah,
like he'll go through the whole entire liturgy.
He's certainly not doing the announcements. I'll tell you that much.
He actually does do the announcements.
Oh, does
but he does them at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you should start doing that.
Hey, yeah, I like that.
But it's totally not about him. Even the clothes they wear are not about them. Now, I'm not saying I'm trying to hold you to the standard, but I like that. I think what kids need is kids my age who are looking for something greater. They need discipline, they need structure, and they need reverence. I think in the church we have freedom. Mm-hmm. But this freedom gets real confusing with these other three things. Because we should have reverence for our pastor. We do know he's flawed. They know the priest is flawed. I don't know. Man. I just want to respect. I want to feel like the service is just not about the person.
Yeah.
I want to feel like when I come to church, my priest, my pastor is leading me to worship God. Not leading me to like his sermon or to like what he's talking about or to like him as a person.
Yeah.
I want him to lead me to Christ. And how do we do that in the most tangible, real way? It's by getting out of the way. And how do we do that? Not dressing fancy, not trying to appeal to people, not trying to look good to people, just like literal, like sackcloth and ashes servitude. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what I look for. But I see that in you, and it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the right or wrong thing. It's your heart posture, not what you wear. So I see that you don't care about what you're wearing. You're not trying to appeal to the young people or to the old people. Actually, I'm very impressed about, and I know I'm like glazing you right now, but I'm very impressed with the congregation you have and the things that you've done that definitely push the boundaries a little bit. The hymnals and contemporary music, and you're trying to like feed the congregation as a whole, not as sex. Yeah, you're like getting out of the way. And I really see that in you, and I really respect you for that, man. And praise God, all glory to God. But I want you to know I'm over that hump of not looking at you reverentially. I low-key, I feel like God put me here to respect you more.
Oh, that's crazy. I like that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Do you respect me more?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think that there's parts of I was talking about today where like sometimes the days when I don't feel like excited to go and preach, or I'm like, man, I'm not feeling it today. Sometimes that's the most genuine and I guess best sermons are those ones because I'm all out of the way because I'm not even bringing any of me to it. I'm just like,
yeah, I love
I'm not even feeling it today.
I loved what you said earlier. You said like sometimes I'll be so excited because I'm excited to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
And the best parts of those sermons are not what you say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were talking about this, how you'll like riff sometimes, and those are the best parts of the sermon.
Yeah.
Best parts.
And then the thing that I have highlighted that I'm like, oh, this is going to be a zinger, and then it just falls flat.
Dude,
like,
I haven't heard you say zinger in months, dude. Have you been depressed? What the heck, dude? That's crazy. And That's a Bar. This whole podcast was founded off zingers, and That's a Bar.
Yeah.
And we've lost it.
That's
Dude,
right.
We've lost our mojo. We've become too reverent.
Yeah, we.
Well, not if you listen to the last podcast.
Yeah, oh boy. Yeah, that's that's wild.
I don't know. I love seeing pastors get out of the way but be in the mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like very much a part of things, but you are very much learning how to give people a place to grow and to like safe place to fail.
That's the whole, I'm trying to figure out, speaking of zingers, every year when I do the leadership meetings, like at the beginning of the year, to like plan what are we going to do, like we literally will get together, talk about what we need to work on for the year for the church, and then plan out the whole calendar.
Dang.
Now we write it out in pencil because a lot of that stuff's getting shifted around. Yeah. But like ballpark, where do we want these events that we know we do every year or whatever? Mm-hmm. But I also try to every year come up with a tagline or a theme for the year for us to like aspire to, like with everything that we do. Let's think about like this thing. And so that's what I'm working on right now is I'm trying to figure out it's going to be somewhere in that like giving people a place to safely fail kind of thing. Like how to word that. Like I've thought about like creating space for grace or something like that. Like something
space for grace.
Yeah. Something like that where it's like
with like a rocket ship.
But like this idea that like with everything that we do this year, I want to focus on how are we meeting people where they are and allowing them to have that safe place to fail. And it's with things like the recovery group and things like the youth group and the kids programs and all these things. Like let people come and do this thing with excellence, yes, but let them be knowing that like if it doesn't end up perfect, that there's grace in that. And there's some we can work from that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think also this is just meant to be the structure of the church, like this, like bishop, priest, and then there's like lower things than that. Is like you're the head of Zion's Hill Baptist Church, and then you have these people who are heads of other things within this church, but they come to you when they need advice. They come to you when they need support. They come to you when you need help. I think when they need help, I think that's a good place to be. Like what you were saying earlier about, I was like, I wish you'd get on me more. And you shared how your dad was, and you were like, he wouldn't hound me while I was doing it. But what'd you say?
When the thing that he knew would inevitably cause my demise, when that thing fell apart, he would say, okay, you see where the mistake was. Now, how do we fix this? And he would come alongside us and help us with whatever thing we were going through. Yeah. But he wouldn't just like wedge himself into. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying like as kids he wouldn't correct us when we were doing something wrong. But this is more like late teens and adulthood.
Where you can understand.
He wouldn't just like interject himself into our problems. Right. And like with some kind of hero complex. He would wait until like, okay, clearly we've come to the conclusion that he had already come to, that whatever this is not working and may be bad for us. Now, what do we do about it?
So look at that through your lens now as a father, with how much like humility and like patience and prayer probably goes into that. Yeah. You know, your dad was, when you were probably going through something, was probably praying nonstop. Yeah. Not only for you, but how he could handle it. Yeah. And how much patience does it take to let somebody fail and be there and be ready for them? Yeah. And I don't know. I think he got out of the way.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I want to be able to do in the sense of like the church leadership thing. Not that I want to be less involved or whatever, but that I want to allow people to be able to make mistakes, but then learn from them. And I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Praise God, man. I think I'm doing all right now. My mind seems to be set a little more straight. Granted, I'm off the weed, off the Mary Jane. I will say, God struck me down the other day because I found another vaporizer in my truck, and I was smoking. I took a little Tokadat Joan, and I threw it in this McDonald's bag because I was like, all right, I'm going to throw this out. And then I went back to go get it later. My supervisor took it out of my passenger seat and threw it in the bucket in the back of my truck. And there was a half drinking energy drink in that McDonald's bag, and it spilled all over my vaporizer.
Nice.
So I couldn't use it anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a sidebar. I don't know where that came from.
No, but this is good because I was trying to reinvent and build up this sackcloth and ashes joke.
Sackcloth and acid. That was big in the 80s.
And this is it. The modern day equivalent would be sweatpants and vape juice.
That's the podcast title. Sweatpants and vape juice.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well,
good, man.
Yeah. So I think that's good. I think this is a good one.
This was a good one. We are going to try to be more intentional with these. We talked about it today. We kind of just been, personally, I feel like I've been a little lazy with this and kind of just been doing it. And I lost the heart of it. The original, like why we started this was like to be real, to talk about real things. And being real, that's a vague thing. I think what I want in being real is not to be like flamboyant or dumb or idiotic, but to just like share what I'm really going through. And unfortunately, what I've really been going through is I haven't been reading scripture. I haven't been invested in things of the faith. So it's kind of left me dry on this podcast setting, and I need to work on that. So
yeah, but I would encourage you not to work on it for the podcast.
Correct.
Work on it for yourself, and that will produce good things for the podcast.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's why that little 2-week break we took was probably good for me.
Yeah.
So praise God, we're back though, baby.
Yeah,
we're back though, baby.
No more breaks. Back on your heads.
No more gays.
You know,
I almost went the whole podcast.
Have I ever told you this joke? Back
What?
on your heads joke?
Mm-mm.
We got time. So it's very like theologically broken, this joke. It's not very good from a theological standpoint.
Very cabin in the woods or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but essentially there's this guy dies and goes to hell, and there's like these different rooms, and the demon in charge of hell, which already is a very theologically skewed.
Won't get into that.
Yeah. That's a topic for another podcast. But the demon's like, well, yeah, it sucks. You're in hell, but at least we give you options here. You get choices. You're gonna have to toil and work in one of these rooms for all of eternity, but we'll let you choose. And so he takes him to the first room, and the guy sees that they're like neck deep in just sewage and liquid feces, and they're just marching around in circles in this scubula and just all around. And he's like, oh, I don't like this one bit. This is horrible. I don't think I'm into this.
Yeah. And
so he's like, let me see room number 2. And he's like, okay, that's fine. We'll go to room number 2. And he sees a similar thing. They're not really moving around as much, but they're waist deep.
Yeah.
And the filth. And he's like, oh, still not great. And they're working pretty hard. They're sweating a little bit. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Can I see the third room? He's like, yeah, you can see the third room if you want. He goes to the third room, and it's only about knee deep, and they're resting, and they're just chilling, not seem to be as active, and they're drinking coffee. And the guy says, well, I mean, there's still feces everywhere, but at least there's coffee. And so he says, this is the one, room 3 for me. And the demon's like, oh boy, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. He's like, are you sure? Like, this is forever. And he's like, yeah, this is the one, I'm sure. He's like, okay. And he's like, well, I'll introduce you to the supervisor. Introduces him to the supervisor. And he's like, all right, well, you're here forever with me. Nice to meet you. And he's like, go on go on and meet some of the other people. And so he goes off and he mingles with the other people and gets ready to get his cup of coffee. And then the supervisor says, "All right, break's over. Back on your heads."
Yeah, that's stupid. Back on your heads is crazy. Yeah. That's hilarious.
So if I ever say, breaks over, back on your heads, it's a reference to this way longer, stupid joke. And so now you're in on it. So
that's fire.
Yeah.
That was from your dad, wasn't it?
No, that one actually wasn't.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough, bro. That was hilarious.
Obviously, demons aren't in charge of hell. That's not the truth. But God's truth won't
back down, and neither should you.
Stay focused, stay aggressive, and stay relentless
for God's glory.
Amen.
Amen.